time do you have to be there?
1:15.
Well, they can't start without you, can they?
Do you know for a fact that Vicky's going to plead guilty?
Yeah.
So, how can she then say she ain't really guilty because you made her do it?
Well, right, yeah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's saying she's guilty because she was involved. But she just did what you told her to.
Well, yeah, well then she's lying.
And he's not allowed to talk to you, even when you get in court, is he?
No.
So if he does, even if it's just a whisper, let somebody know.
I think it's time we made ourselves known to the court usher.
Oh, right. Well, good luck, Vicky, love. And just tell the truth, that's all you have to do.
Tell the truth, send my husband to prison.
Over here. Court one. Victoria McDonald.
She turned up then.
I don't think she's got much choice, Mum, seeing as though she's charged as well. Well, someone else has turned up, look. Hi, Dad.
Andrew, do you mind if I join you?
No, of course we don't.
Stephen, how you doing? All right.
Shouldn't you be letting them know you're here?
No, me barrister told me to wait till she arrived.
Oh, sorry. It's a she then, is it, eh?
Yeah. Best thing, really. The jury tends to believe women more than they do men.
Tell me about
It's
it.
a charge that means what it says. Conspiracy. People coming together to pervert the cause of justice. In this case, to get one of them off. And there is no doubt that a conspiracy took place. Of the 3 people accused, 2 of them, Mrs. McDonald and Mr. Fox, have pleaded guilty. Your task today, ladies and gentlemen, is to consider the role of Mr. McDonald, who has pleaded not guilty. Mr. McDonald will claim that he had no part in this conspiracy, that he didn't even know it was going on. This is despite the fact that it involved his wife handing over large sums of money to a friend of his in a transaction very much to his advantage.
Until she told me she was Steve's wife.
And what happened then?
Well, then she suggested that if I changed my statement saying that Steve knew that the stuff was stolen, that, well, there might be some money in it for me.
How much?
Started off at 3,000, ended up at 6.
And where was Mr. McDonald whilst these negotiations were taking place?
He was outside.
How do you know that?
Because she said he was.
And did you get the impression that Mr. McDonald knew what was going on?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, he'd sent her.
Mrs. McDonald told you that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Fox, on the occasion we're talking about, when Mrs. McDonald gave you the first instalment of the money, did you see Steve McDonald?
Well, not...
Yes or no? Did you see him?
No.
And all right, Mrs. McDonald might have given you the impression he was outside in the car. But mightn't she have done that because she wasn't happy being alone with you in your office? She wanted you to think her husband was outside for her own protection.
That's possible, yeah.
So, just once more, so the jury is absolutely clear, who was it who gave you the money? Was it Mr. McDonald or was it Mrs. McDonald?
It's Mrs.
So you were just 15 when your parents were killed?
Yes.
And your inheritance was held in trust. Approximately how much was this, by the way?
240,000.
Which you received when you were how old?
18.
18. So there you were, a wealthy young woman. Quite a catch. How long was it before you married Steve McDonald?
About 6 months.
As quick as that?
Yes.
Mrs. McDonald, whose idea was it to bribe Mr. Fox? Was it Mr. Fox's? Did he suggest it himself? Is that a yes or a no?
No.
So whose idea was it? Was it your own idea?
No.
Well, it only leaves one other person, but I'd still like to hear it from you, Mrs. McDonald. Whose idea was it?
Steve's.
Steve's. That's Mr. McDonald, your husband, yes?
Yes.
Did he instruct you to take the money out of your account?
Yes.
And when you took it to Mr. Fox, did he drive you there?
Yes.
What about the second installment? Can you tell us about that?
I gave it to Mr. Fox's wife in the ladies' toilets at the court.
And who told you to do that?
Steve.
Thank you.
So you're saying that Steve McDonald married you for your money?
No.
No, I hope not. Because when, in February '95, you suddenly decided to leave school and went to live 6 doors away from him, he was, at that time, living with someone else, wasn't he?
Yes.
Till you came along with your money. And then, tell us, Mrs. McDonald, what did you do to persuade him to break off this rather inconvenient relationship?
I didn't do anything.
Didn't you offer to pay off his debts?
No. It wasn't like that.
Totaling over £4,000? And then, once you'd done that, you whisked him off to the West Indies, and that's where you were married, yes?
Yes,
And who paid for the tickets?
I did.
As you've always paid for everything. Let's face it, Mrs. McDonald, your whole attitude to life is anything you want, you buy it. Including, on this occasion, your husband's freedom.
No!
What? It wasn't your money?
Well, yes, but...
And you weren't the one who handed it over?
Because Steve wanted me to!
I've just one last question. Do you believe it's a woman's place to do whatever her husband tells her without questioning it?
No.
You think she should be capable of thinking for herself, and so be responsible for her own actions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Things you forget, like, she really did use her money to break up him and Fiona.
Yeah, although what that's got to do with conspiracy, Mum, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's all got to do with relationships, hasn't it? I mean, who's pulling whose strings? Sandy?
Well, it's the first time I've thought he does have a chance.
Of course he has a chance.
I mean, if the jury really listened to what's being said.
Elizabeth, that's what they're there for, okay? That's exactly what they're going to do. Now, listen, don't worry your head about it. Can we just have a wee sandwich or a wee drop of
Did
trough
you
or something?
instruct your wife to offer a bribe to Mr. Fox?
No,
Did you know that's what she was doing?
no.
What was the first you knew of it?
Afterwards, when she told me.
And what was your reaction?
Well, I told her it was a stupid thing to have done, but she'd done it for me because she knew I was being set up, and she thought it was the only way out.
What would you have said if you'd known in advance that's what she was doing?
Well, I'd have said, don't do it. I mean, not only is it like a serious offence, but you don't trust Malcolm.
Mr. Fox?
Yeah, I mean, giving him money. I mean, you know he's only going to come back for more.
So you would have said to your wife that what she was intending was not only illegal, but also that it was unlikely to achieve its purpose.
Well, it hasn't, has it?
You would never have offered money to Mr. Fox because you knew he wasn't to be trusted.
Absolutely.
But your wife wouldn't know this.
No.
One thing that might be puzzling the jury, your wife went to all these lengths to try to keep you out of court, and she did this because she loved you?
I suppose, yeah.
So why is she now here as a witness for the prosecution? Why is she pointing the finger and saying you made her do it?
Because other people have persuaded her to.
What other people, and why should they do that?
Well, there are certain people that think I'm not good enough for her, and who have tried to stop us getting married.
In what way weren't you good enough?
I was ordinary. I was working class. I didn't go to public school.
I see. And this campaign has continued, has it?
Well, if you take a granddad, for instance, I mean, well, he's done lots of things, but one thing he did do was he offered me £5,000 if I didn't marry her. And he even wrote out the cheque and pushed it in front of me.
But you refused it?
Yeah. But he never gave up. He went on and on at her, and well, okay, he's done it. He's turned her against me. She's moved out and she's moved in with him, and well, she generally seems to be accusing me of everything she can.
The marriage has effectively collapsed.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that?
Well, he's terrible. I love Vicky. I'll always love Vicky. I mean, I don't know why she's doing it, except she just probably just wants to shut me out of her life, and this must be the easiest way.
£6,000 was paid to Fox so that McDonald would not have to face a possible criminal charge. Now that much is beyond doubt, and what is also beyond doubt is that Mrs. McDonald was instrumental in handing the money over, and that she withdrew the money from her own account. What is contested, members of the jury, what you must decide is whether she did that of her own accord without her husband's knowledge, or whether she did it because he told her that she
Will
must.
the foreman of the jury please stand? Will you answer my next question, yes or no? Had the jury reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
And do you find the defendant, Stephen James MacDonald, guilty or not guilty of conspiring to pervert the course of justice?
Guilty.
Guilty.
Yes.
And that is the verdict of you all?
Yes.
I thank the members of the jury. And before I pass sentence, I must ask the defendants if there's anything else they wish to be taken into account. Malcolm Fox, you were an active participant in this conspiracy. The only thing in your favour is that you pleaded guilty. I sentence you to 12 months imprisonment to commence at the end of the sentence you're currently serving. Victoria Frances McDonald, I believe you were very much under the influence of your husband in what you did, and that therefore a sentence of 12 months imprisonment suspended for 2 years is appropriate in your case. That means you remain free if you stay out of trouble. Stephen James McDonald, I'm convinced that you were the prime mover in this conspiracy. You used your wife and your wife's money to corrupt the defendant Fox while hoping that you yourself would remain in the shadows. Your aim throughout has been to preserve your own freedom at any cost, even if it meant your wife going to prison in your place. In this you failed. I sentence you to 2 years imprisonment. Take them down.